Minister for Foreign Affairs of Oman, Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, of course, my good friend, the Minister for External Affairs of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First, an apology for not being able to join you physically in person, but at least I'm here live virtually. It's an honor, a privilege to address all of you at the 8th Indian Ocean Conference. And let me extend my deepest appreciation to our good friend and stalwart Minister Sayyid Badr for hosting this conference, as well as Dr. Ram Madhav, who's been an indefatigable spirit behind this conference from the India Foundation, and of course the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Thank you all for co-organizing this. The theme of today's conference, Voyage to the New Horizons of Maritime Partnership. For millennia, and here I will echo Sayyid Badr, the Indian Ocean has been a vital economic lifeline, a cultural bridge, a conduit for essential commerce. From the ancient maritime spice route to some of today's busiest shipping lanes, like the Straits of Malacca, the Indian Ocean has fostered not just the movement of physical goods, but the exchange of knowledge and ideas that have shaped our shared history. The Indian Ocean today connects the major engines of the international economy, all the way from North Atlantic to those of us here in the Asia Pacific. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development estimates that over 80% of global trade by volume and over 70% by value is transported by sea. A substantial portion of this flows through the Indian Ocean, including about 80% of the world's maritime oil trade and 9.48 billion tons of cargo. It's worth recollecting that despite modern connectivity, air travel, and high-speed rail, in fact, maritime shipping remains the most cost-efficient way of transporting vast quantities of cargo across our globe. An average container ship that traverses the Suez Canal today can carry about 18,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units. If we were to unload every single container from this ship and place it onto a train, that train would stretch for more than 100 kilometers. There is no substitute for the economies of scale offered by maritime shipping. However, this is premised on the continued openness and sustainability of the oceans and the seas. The fact of the matter is our world has become more dangerous. There are hot wars still smoldering in the Middle East, in Africa, in Ukraine. There is a danger of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, as well as precision and AI-guided systems becoming more lethal and potent in the future. Today, we all know that even non-state actors can interdict vital lanes of communication. At the same time, the liberal world order and the multilateral system, which we have taken for granted over many decades, is now severely eroding. And there has been a pushback all over the world against free trade and economic integration. What this means is that many countries are now taking more protectionist and nationalistic positions. We've also seen flagrant violations of international law and the UN Charter. In these times, I think for all the countries represented in this conference, we must reaffirm our collective commitment to international law and a rules-based world order. The 1982 United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, provides that essential legal framework that ensures freedom of navigation and equitable access to maritime resources as a right and not by the grace of any resident superpower. These principles, enshrined in UNCLOS, enable global maritime trade to flourish as vessels can traverse freely across national jurisdictions and international waterways. For instance, a ship departing from Singapore can freely sail through the Straits of Malacca, cross the international waters in the Indian Ocean, and navigate through territorial seas in order to visit Mumbai or Salalah, and without seeking permission or paying rental, or even seeking license fees for that matter. This is what freedom of navigation means, and this is guaranteed under UNCLOS. For small trading economies like Singapore and Oman, the open and unimpeded flow of maritime trade is absolutely essential. Just last year, the Port of Singapore set a new record, and we handled over 40 million TEUs. This is just in Singapore. If you lined up all the containers that were processed through Singapore last year, if you line them all up, they would stretch more than 6.5 times around the world's equator. That's not a small number. For all of us here, including littoral and landlocked states that benefit from this essential maritime shipping, UNCLOS, and by extension, a rules-based world order is essential. There is some reason to be optimistic. The adoption by consensus of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, or BBNJ for short, agreement, in June 2023, actually, given the times, is a remarkable victory for international law. And Singapore was proud to have played our part in this global effort. Our ambassador, Rina Lee's leadership as president of the Intergovernmental Conference helped to bring the BBNJ agreement to fruition. And this agreement aimed at conserving and sustainably using marine biodiversity in the high seas has direct implications for the Indian Ocean, which is currently also under threat from climate change and global warming. Which brings me to my next point, the need to protect our common heritage, to protect our oceans. The sea surface temperatures in the Indian Ocean have risen by an average of 1 degree Celsius. And you don't need to be in the Maldives or Mauritius to see for your own eyes the widespread coral bleaching and the loss of seagrass. The seas have become rougher, and extreme weather events like cyclones have become more frequent. And the key shipping routes are being disrupted. At the current rate of warming, the Indian Ocean is projected to experience near-permanent marine heat waves. With the BBNJ agreement, marine protected areas can be established in international waters. We believe this will safeguard critical habitats and marine ecosystems that act as essential carbon sinks, another critical element for mitigating global warming. We must also invest in sustainable development of the maritime industry. The International Maritime Organization aims to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by around 2050. Today, shipping accounts for nearly 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. In Singapore, we are taking steps to reduce our maritime emissions. We have revised our Maritime Singapore Green Initiative to offer incentives for ships that adopt cleaner technologies and sustainable fuels. We are also boosting port productivity and sustainability through new technologies like smart grids. Our Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization completed its final trial of biofuels, which saw a 28% reduction in emissions compared to conventional fuels. We have also set up a Center for Excellence in Maritime Energy and Sustainable Development to innovate new solutions. We have established 6 bilateral green and digital shipping corridors to support the decarbonization of the maritime industry and to enhance efficiencies through digitalization. I've taken some pains to enumerate this because actually what we want is to make an appeal for new partners, especially from the Indian Ocean, to join us on this essential enterprise for the future. So let me conclude by saying that in an era of increasing geopolitical uncertainty and environmental challenges, all of us need to work together to uphold a stable, rules-based maritime order and to pursue sustainable solutions to safeguard our shared ocean, the Indian Ocean, for future generations. And this conference is an important opportunity for us to exchange ideas, forge new collaborations, reaffirm our collective commitment to these goals. Look forward to the constructive discussions ahead and to charting a course for a more secure and sustainable future for all of us in the Indian Ocean. Thank you all very much.